Welcome to Bowl Game Radio.
They reverse it to Shipley. Now he's going to throw the ball to Ash at the 5, to the goal line. Touchdown, Texas. A little razzle-dazzle.
With Bruce Binkowski and Mark Neville.
Moves it downfield, got a receiver there. Caught at the 15, 10, 5. He scored.
Bowl Game Radio on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to the third season of Bowl Game Radio right here on the mighty 1090. I'm Bruce Binkowski.
And I'm Mark Neville. We are midway through the 2014 college football season. It's hard to believe, but thanks for joining us again as we eagerly look forward to San Diego's postseason college football bowl games, the National University Holiday Bowl, and the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl.
Every Wednesday or Thursday from 6 until 7. This one tonight is on a Thursday night, but usually we're on Wednesday nights. Is an hour-long program that looks at potential matchups in our two games, a focus on the economic impact of these two San Diego traditions. And then we're going to have a talk with a local Pac-12 analyst talking about this powerhouse conference.
And as you know, Bruce, this is an exciting year for San Diego's bowl games and for college football in general. And as you probably know, the first edition of the college football playoff rankings were released on Tuesday. We'll certainly chat about that a little bit. And in just a moment, we'll welcome our weekly contributor, former Aztecs and USC head coach Ted Tollner, to discuss the early matchup potentials.
And then in our next segment, we'll have a chat with the executive director of the TMD. That's the Tourism Marketing District, Lauren Stewart. And finally, we'll wrap up with Kevin Gemmel of ESPN.com.
Before we get started, we'd like to remind you to like us on each of our Facebook pages and follow us on Twitter at Poinsettia Bowl and at Holiday Bowl Game.
All right, it's time now for our first segment to talk to the coaching genius, Ted Tollner. Many years a head coach or an assistant coach in the National Football League and in college at USC and San Diego State. Coach, thanks for joining us again on our weekly update on what's going on in college football.
My pleasure, guys. Good evening.
All right, good to have you with us. All right, now let's talk about the big game for the Aztecs on – I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself already. First question, and I messed it up.
That's all right. I'll mess up a few, too.
Okay.
Welcome to the club, Bruce.
The San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl features a bowl-eligible Navy against a Mountain West team. Now, Navy is 4-4 with 4 games to play, and they play a very strong Notre Dame team this Saturday. Now, the Fighting Irish, heavy favorites. As a coach, what do you tell your team that is a huge underdog?
Well, you know, going into the game, everybody's got you defeated already, and that's not the case. I think what you're talking is that, you know, there's a lot of ways to win a game when you're the underdog, and you need all of them to go right for you. You really do. When it's a matchup of Navy against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's having a big year, you're going to need. And so you talk about the things you have to create. Number one, you have to make sure you don't make mistakes to give them the game. You can't make bonehead coverage decisions or pressure decisions or jumping off sides or penalties that are going to cause you or turn the ball over. Those are things that you control. You can't do that if you're going to upset somebody. And then in return, you have to create those things in your opponent and play at the top of your game. And you don't know where they're going to be right now. Are they going to overlook you? You can't count on it. But you really have to worry about what you can control and then go out there and play, take the challenge of playing a top 10 team. I think they were just ranked 10 in the new poll, and
that's right.
And take advantage of that. It's really an honor to play a ranked team and see how you match up, and let's go find out.
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned that everybody already has a loss in the column for Navy. Now, granted, they're underdogs. Granted, Notre Dame is a top 10 team. But everybody I talk to says, yep, Navy's going to lose, Navy's going to lose. But I think that if they're in the game in the fourth quarter, maybe you could see a big upset in the making.
Well, and that's normally when they happen, obviously. The underdogs don't usually rally late in the game when they're way behind. They have to find a way to stay in the game when the favorite all of a sudden is in the fourth quarter. And what is going on here? They're still in this game, and then they start to press a little bit, and you have a much better chance as an underdog if you can stay in the game into the fourth quarter. And that's always the question mark. Can you do that? And then and then it's just a matter of one break here or there, and you can upset them. But that's the difficulty, is staying in that game for 4 quarters, and then obviously your chances of upsetting them increase tremendously.
We're going to find out. And, of course, for the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, if the Naval Academy has 6 wins and they're bowl eligible, they will be in the game against a team from the Mountain West Conference.
So, Coach, if you're talking to the Naval Academy, you're at halftime, you're in the game, and you give them a motivational speech, would that speech be different if you were talking – because we're talking with Coach Ted Tollner, and he's been a long-time collegiate and NFL coach. Would your message to your team be different if you were talking to an NFL team as opposed to a collegiate team?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I think the basics are the same. I mean, it's like taking somebody right now – let's take the Raiders in the NFL. They haven't won a game, and they're playing somebody that's won a bunch of games. If you're in the game at halftime, I mean, you've proven you can play with that team, and so you're going to still take the same. Hey, the reason we're in the game is for these reasons. We can play with these guys. We got to keep doing the same thing. Make sure we don't make mistakes to beat ourselves. Take advantage of theirs. We're going to have them wondering why we're still in the game, and that may force them to make a mistake. I don't think there's much difference really in the psychological part or the physical part when you're the underdog, whether it's the NFL or the college ranks.
Coach, we hear the passion in your voice week after week. And I got to ask you a personal question, and you talk about coaching and things like that. Do you miss being along the sidelines?
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. I think it's a special occupation. One that I cherish for the 47 years that I coached. It didn't matter what level. The challenges every week are exciting. The chemistry and camaraderie of coaching staff and players are something that it's hard to get those experiences in something else. So yeah, I do miss that. But I retired at 71 3 years ago, and it was time for me. I mean, the job also encompasses many, many hours, and there really isn't a lot of free time for your family life and your grandkids, which we have, and travel. So it was the right time for me. But I still, there's no question, I miss Sunday in the NFL or Saturday in the college ranks. It's an exciting time.
And Coach, you've been a part of many teams, both at the collegiate level and the professional level. Is there a team? Let's look on the college side. Is there a team that you pull for? We know you played at Cal Poly. You've coached at San Diego State, USC, BYU. Is there a team that you pull for more than any other?
Well, I pull for friends now, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I want San Diego State to win, but I know Rocky Long and Bobby Toledo and Charles McDaniel and Brian Sipes. So you pull for those guys to have success, and then they're the local team, so you want them from that reason. I pull for Cal Poly because when I was there, we were in the plane crash, and they wanted to think about dropping football, and there was enough courage in the administration to keep the program, even though it was not in a big profit-making program, and they kept it alive, and it's given a lot of young people at that level a chance to play football. So I want to see them be successful. And then you get into the NFL thing, and again, it's friends that I pull for. I mean, I don't really have a loyalty. It happens to be locally with the Chargers. I was at Buffalo when Frank Warwick was our backup quarterback, and he's in his first coordinator role. I want to see him be successful and the Chargers. So it kind of is a combination of local and then friends who are coaching that you want. You know how it feels when they win, and you know how good it is for them, and you want them to have that success.
You're listening to Bowl Game Radio on the Mighty 1090. We're talking with Coach Ted Tollner. I'm Bruce Binkowski, along with Mark Neville. And right now we're talking about the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, which will be played Tuesday, December the 23rd at Qualcomm Stadium, 6:30 p.m. kickoff. Well, we've talked about the Naval Academy and their chances against Notre Dame. Certainly we're going to keep a close eye on San Diego State at Nevada. Now, this is a big game this Saturday night for both teams in the Western Division. The Aztecs 4-3 and 3-1 in the division. Nevada 5-3 and 2-2. So at this point of the year, Coach, would you call this a must-win game for both SDSU and Nevada?
If it's not that, it's very, very close to it. The team that wins the game is in the driver's seat. Now, a lot of things can happen because they have a number of league conference games left. So, but this is a matchup of two teams that are on the positive side of the win-loss column. And so I would say, yes, it's right close to it. It isn't the end if you lose, but it sure is a real positive if you can win this game. I think it's a key game for both teams, yes. Whether it's the final notch, I'm not sure, but it's awfully key.
Now let's move over to the National University Holiday Bowl as we continue to take a look at that game, which is Saturday, December the 27th, 5 o'clock kickoff at Qualcomm Stadium. Now, last week, we were talking about Utah and what a surprise team they were, taking on USC. And we asked Coach Tollner, Matt, do you recall?
I knew you'd bring that up.
Yeah, glad I didn't run to Vegas on your bet.
And of course, and you predicted, as a lot of people did, SC was going to beat Utah, and this was going to turn the tide for the Utes, who maybe be playing over their head. All of a sudden, Utah knocks them off. What gives?
Well, I believe Utah is a better team than all of us realized at the beginning of the year, except maybe their players and their coaching staff. I still think that USC overall had more good players, but Utah at home, it doesn't matter. When that game's being played, it's how your team plays, and they found a way to win late in the game in a very even football game, and they deserve it. And again, I'm happy as can be for them, only because Kyle Whittingham is there and Dennis Erickson, who I work for, guys that I've been around a lot, and to see them when they had a real uphill battle this year after a poor year last year and the pressure that goes with bad seasons. They've had a good year to this point. They got a lot of tough games left, but you feel good for them, and they've proven that the fact that who they've beaten so far, that they are a legitimate team. It's not a fluke. It's not a one-game upset. They are a legitimate quality football team in the Pac-12.
So, Coach Tollner, you said they were going to lose last week. They're playing at Arizona State. I mean, they are in the teeth of their schedule. Just had USC. They got Arizona State, Oregon, Stanford, Arizona. What do you think is going to happen to them this weekend?
Well, I feel the same way. And only even a little more so. Arizona State's a quality team at 6-1, and the fact that it's at home, then they get that little edge of that. So Utah's coming off that big win against SC. They've got to go down and match the same intensity and the same quality of play. But I feel like Arizona State will have the edge on it. And with that said, I believe they'll win. But we all know what that's worth.
Right. And for our listeners, just so you know, we do get the second selection out of the Pacific 12 Conference after the Alamo Bowl and the college football playoff teams. And speaking of the college football playoff, we had our first ranking come out on Tuesday. 5 Pac-12 teams ranked in the top 25. Yeah. Is that a surprise to you?
No, not really. I mean, when you look at the records, the one that's a surprise from the beginning of the year, again, is Utah. Now, we knew that Oregon was going to be good and believe that Arizona State was going to be good, but I think Utah and Arizona have surprised a few people on the outside. UCLA was going to be good. SC's not in the top 25, but those 5 teams are having a good year. And it's interesting, by my assignment from you guys, I was up at that Stanford-Oregon State game, and Condoleezza Rice, who's on the selection committee, was in the press box, and she was getting hounded by everybody. I mean, everybody wanted to, she's the one representative that's in there, and it was fun to see how she handled everything. She's really a tremendous woman.
How was she handling everything?
Well, good. I mean, she's got a great personality, and I just watched. I was an observer on it, and she wasn't going to give away a lot because they hadn't had their key meetings yet. But, I mean, she's looking forward to it. She's a real football fan, not just now. She's been a football fan for a long time and has a history in her family. And, and I saw a couple of the articles without going very long about what is she qualified or not. And I like Rocky Long's position in the paper this morning. I mean, what do you have to analyze? You analyze a record. You analyze the difficulty of opponents. You analyze what was the separation and the difference of the win and the loss against the quality opponents, not when you play the lower ones. So you're looking at a lot of statistics. You don't have to evaluate their offensive design or defensive design. That's not your job. It's to examine results and come up with a criteria you feel good about. And I don't think you have to be a long-time football coach or an athletic person to be able to do that. I mean, I just think she'll lend real credibility to that group of diversified people.
We're talking with Coach Ted Tollner right here on Bowl Game Radio, and we're specifically talking about the upcoming National University Holiday Bowl, Pac-12, Big Ten, on Saturday, December the 27th at Qualcomm Stadium. By the way, SanDiegoBowlGames.com is our website. You can order your tickets and get your tickets now because we're going to have a great matchup. Great team from the Pac-12. And let's move over to the Big Ten opponent, where we, by the way, get the third selection after the playoffs out of the Big Ten, and that could be a great team. Now, we're not going to ask you, Coach, to pick who's going to represent the Big Ten, but you've got some teams coming up this weekend in must-win situations: Michigan, Indiana, Purdue, Illinois. A loss for any of those teams means their season's slipping away, and then you have a Michigan State, an Ohio State, a Wisconsin, Iowa, Penn State. They need to keep winning. So this time of year, every game is crucial for a college football coach.
Oh, no question. And so many of them have to play each other. And I kind of looked at it and said, okay, in case you guys ask me, what do I think? Well, here's what I think right now is that Michigan State, Ohio State, and Nebraska are probably going to go elsewhere. But that next group of teams that I personally like that think will win some of these in the matchups against each other is, I think, Wisconsin's coming on. I believe Iowa, Penn State, Minnesota. I think those 4 teams are going to be able to hang in there. And I may be all wet and it ends up being Maryland and Rutgers. But it's fun to look at it, look at the schedule, and make a guess. I mean, that's the one thing about doing this versus coaching. I'm not accountable. I just give you an opinion, and when I'm wrong, you guys pick on me.
What's even better still,
and we will continue to do
we
so.
Will. And also, when in your career did you ever think we'd interrupt you, let's say, off a golf course on a Tuesday afternoon in October? Or a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Never.
But we've been pretty good at doing that.
Well, that's the bonus on the other side of being retired, is that I do have more time to do things that you can't do. And the coaching profession is exciting, and I loved it, but it's demanding. I mean, it's like a lot of professions. I mean, it's just in ours, everybody knows about it that cares about athletics, but it's demanding, but very rewarding.
Well, Coach Ted Tollner, thanks for joining us on Bowl Game Radio this week, and we'll get together again, same time, same station next week, and still not have a clue who will be playing in our games this year.
I love it.
I want to know when we're going to pin you guys down. That's what I want to know.
Not yet. We're getting a little closer.
All right.
A little bit closer. Ted
Talk
Tollner,
to you later.
Thanks for joining us on Bowl Game Radio.
So we're up against a break. When we return, we're going to talk with the executive director of the Tourism Marketing District a little bit about the mission statement of San Diego's Bowl Games and why we do what we do. We'll do that when we get back. You're listening to Bowl Game Radio on the San Diego Bowl Game Media Network and the Mighty 1090.